YouTubers, I have another special edition for you on this election news. Articles just keep piling in here on what's going on with this election, and I'm trying to keep you up to date with everything. I will be so happy when this election is over. I can't even begin to tell you the nightmares that I have about this whole mess at this point after reading all the stuff that I have to read. That I have for you is off of the sleuthjournal.com, and it says, will Michelle Obama be the replacement nominee if the FBI email investigation ends Hillary Clinton's campaign? It says, I realize that this headline must sound extremely bizarre. In the article, I'll explain why this could actually happen. We've just learned that the FBI has obtained a search warrant for the agency to examine approximately 650,000 emails that are sitting on electronic devices owned by Huma Abedin, or however you want to pronounce that, and her estranged husband, Anthony Weiner. Now that the FBI is going through these emails, it is unlikely, but still possible, that a decision about whether or not to charge Hillary Clinton with a crime November the 8th. Of course, the most likely scenario is that Hillary Clinton will not be indicted before Election Day, and that the Americans will be voting with this scandal hanging ominously over the Clinton campaign. But if the FBI does quickly take action, it is possible that Hillary Clinton could be forced Election Day, and that would require Democrats to come up with a new candidate. In fact, there are already calls in the mainstream media to willingly remove herself from the race. For example, the following comes from a Chicago Tribune article entitled "Democrats Should Ask God," and I'll have another article on that here in a little bit. And this is, I can get the page to cooperate with me. Here we go. What the Democrats do now, the ruling Democrats hold themselves to the high moral standards they impose on the people they govern. They would follow this simple process. They would demand that Mrs. Clinton step down immediately and let her vice presidential nominee, Senator Tim Kaine of Virginia, stand in her place. Democrats should say honestly that with a new criminal investigation going on into events around the email server from the time she was Secretary of State, having Clinton's anywhere near the White House is just not a good idea. That article does not understand is that Tim Kaine would not automatically take her place if Clinton steps down before the election. In the previous article, I quote from U.S. News and World Report article that explained what would happen if Hillary Clinton was removed from the Democratic ticket prior to November the 8th. Off the ticket, Democratic National Committee members would vote on a replacement. DNC members acted superdelegates during this year's primary and overwhelmingly backed vote-rocking socialist Senator Bernie Sanders of Vermont. Mark said there currently are 445 committee members, a number that changes over time and is guided by the group's bylaws to specific office holders and party leaders, 200 spots states, along with an optional 75 slots and choose to fill. But the party rules presidential nominee merely specify that the majority of members must be present at a special meeting called by committee chairman, follow procedures set by the DNC Rules and Bylaws Committee. Voting would not be allowed. So if this email scandal forced Hillary Clinton to exit the race, a majority of the members of the Democratic National Committee would gather to select a new nominee. Let's take a look at the top 5 options. Number 1 would be Tim Kaine. He would seem to be the obvious choice since he's Hillary Clinton's running mate, but to win a national campaign, you need to have name recognition, and most Americans in the state of Virginia have very little familiarity with him. And at this point, he's proven to have very little popularity on the campaign trail. In fact, attendance at many of his rallies in states can be measured in the dozens. So to me, it seems unlikely DNC would select Kaine as the replacement nominee. Number 2 would be Joe Biden. Joe Biden has far more name recognition than Tim Kaine does, and in recent days he has been touting how he believes that he would have actually won the nomination if he decided to run. President or Vice President Joe Biden said in an interview that he believed he could have been former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton for the Democratic presidential nomination had he pursued it. Biden was asked in an interview with CNN Saturday if the FBI was reopening their criminal probe into Clinton's use of a email server while Secretary of State made him second guess his decision last year not to run. But according to the Vice President, the short answer is no. Kept him from running, Biden said, was the recent death of his son, Beau. For Biden, he suffers from many of the same things that Kaine does. Boring. He's not very good on the campaign trail. Have the sort of charisma that would motivate people to go to the polls in large numbers. Biden would probably represent the safest choice for the Democrats, but he might not be a winning choice. Sanders. Bernie Sanders would seem to be a logical choice since he was the runner-up to Hillary Clinton, but the truth is that there are a lot of things working against Bernie Sanders. He does not have any real loyalty to the Democrats. He operated as an independent, and he expressed a desire to return to independent status once the campaign was over. Secondly, the Democratic establishment very much dislikes him, and that plays a huge role in decisions such as this. Thirdly, Democratic insiders would be another governor, another McGovern, and would get absolutely wiped out in a general election. So even though he is very popular with the radical left, it appears that Sanders would be the least likely choice on this list. Elizabeth Warren. Elizabeth Warren would be very popular with the Bernie Sanders of the party, and she would enable the party to replace Hillary Clinton with another woman. Definitely a possibility, but she does recognition, and just like Sanders, there would be concern that the Republicans would frame her candidacy as another McGovern, her far left policies. And number 5 is Michelle Obama. One recent survey found that 67% of all the Democrats would rather have a third term than first term for Hillary Clinton. Obama approval rating is running anywhere from to plus 11. So the thought of another Obama in the White House is not far-fetched as you might think. She has better name recognition than anyone else on the list, generally very well liked by the American people, and she has received a tremendous amount of praise for her work on the campaign trail recently. For instance, her recent speech in New Hampshire as the most influential speech of the 2016 campaign. In a recent MSN article entitled, "In this campaign, Michelle Obama became more than just another political voice." By timing and met with an enthusiastic response, cemented Obama's place as the star of the presidential race and put defining stroke not just on how women view Trump, but also on herself as a voice of moral authority. leaving the White House, she already is among the ranks of public figures who transcend politics and title. When you rise to a level like that, you see how much weight your words carry, said Anita McBride, former chief of staff to Laura Bush, an executive at School of Public Affairs at American University. We know she didn't like politics, but she was impassioned by the language that was, and she feels compelled to speak out. People listen to her. Democrats, Michelle Obama is the one that I would select if a replacement nominee was needed because she would give the best chance of winning against Donald Trump. Of course, just as radical as Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren, but the American people have become quite comfortable with them at this point. I hope that I certainly hope that Michelle Obama does not become the nominee if Hillary Clinton has to step aside, because Donald Trump would have an exceedingly difficult time defeating her. In the final analysis, none of this is probably going to matter anyway, because it's unlikely that the FBI will move quickly enough to force Hillary Clinton out before the election day, but still a small chance that it could actually happen. And if it does happen, it's going to turn politics in America completely upside down. Next article I have is off thefederalist.com. It says, in Pennsylvania, Trump's protectionism lures blue-collar Democrats. Pennsylvania wasn't supposed to be a swing state, but decades of industrial decline and Trump's promises of protection states in play. Amid the uproar of last-minute scandals and intrigue coming out of Washington in the final days before the presidential election, a quieter but equally important battle is underway in what wasn't supposed to be a battleground state this election cycle. Although Pennsylvania was its state from 1976 until 2004, it has voted Democratic in every presidential election since 1992, and until recently, it looked like would see that trend continue. But now, every major poll shows Hillary with at least a couple of percentage points lead on Donald. Final week of the election, some polls have Clinton up by as much as 11 points. But all is not themes. Despite Clinton's advantage in the polls, the race in Pennsylvania, with its 20 electoral college votes at stake, is closer than it appears. Shifting party allegiances with broad changes across the electorate have put the Keystone State into play. Nate 538 pegged Pennsylvania at number 2 on its list of states defined as the probability that a state will provide the decisive vote in the Electoral College. Because there's no early voting in Pennsylvania, we won't know until voters cast their ballots next Tuesday. This is the reason the state is so important. However, electoral scorekeeping, perhaps more than any other state, the economic and social trends that turned Pennsylvania into a key swing state this year also helped explain the forces reshaping the electorate nationwide. Another factor, Pennsylvania's transition can be traced to its protectionist past. Pennsylvania has always been a protectionist state. Century, Pennsylvania was America's poster child for industrial prosperity, from its massive steel mills around Pittsburgh to its anthracite coal mines in the Northeast. To Braddock to Scranton, middle-class communities were often built on the foundation of single industries or even company. And even since the New Deal, in the organization's powerful labor unions, the workers in those industries invariably voted Democratic. To the Democratic Party, was tied for the most part to trade policies that protected Pennsylvania's twin economic engines, steel and coal. Steel producers began feeling pressure from new technologies and overseas decades after World War II. The industry pushed for and got tariffs and import quotas. Many of them secured with the help of a Republican, John Murtha, who died in 2010 after 36 years in Congress, helped stem the loss of jobs. Got to move the page here a little bit. Let's see. Generations of steelworkers and miners across the state to middle-class wages, generous health benefits, and a promise of protection in all its forms. Down, beginning in 1970s and continuing to the present day, the steady loss of mining jobs and dramatic closures of Pennsylvania struck a blow to vast swaths of state hallowing communities and leaving former middle-class workers dependent on welfare and unemployment benefits. Cambria County, east of Pittsburgh, producer of steel in the United States, are predominantly white with low rate of college education, a demographic group that leans heavily toward Trump. That's a relatively recent change. Workers of America endorsed Barack Obama in 2008, but this year the union isn't backing any candidate, but mine are supporting Trump. Across the state, Democratic majority counties are turning to Trump and his promise of protectionist trade policies. A poll found Clinton ahead by just 2 points statewide, but Trump, with his 9-point lead in Pittsburgh and a 12-point lead in the set of in 2012, Obama easily won both Pittsburgh and Luzerne County. Ferentz, chairman of Luzerne County, says Democrats have lost northeast Pennsylvania. I think this area is done with them. They're played out, he says, predicting Trump will win Pennsylvania by double digits. Might come back, but the jobs won't. Showed Clinton with 13-point lead, Philadelphia, solid Democratic stronghold. Voters, Trump will need to not just in Pittsburgh and the Northeast, but the 4 collar counties around Philadelphia, Delaware, Montgomery, will likely decide who wins the state. Pitch to Pennsylvania voters that he'll bring steel back to Pittsburgh and put miners back to work across the state isn't bolstered by the realities of the economy. Trump's campaign office in Conshohocken, Montgomery County, sits across the street, owned by Luxembourg-based, ArcelorMittal, testament to how U.S. manufacturing has changed since the Hudson days of big steel in Pennsylvania. It's huge, sitting on a 70-acre campus along the Illinois River and occupying more than 1 million square feet of building space. 500,000 tons of plate steel a year using state-of-the-art milling equipment. Massive size and capacity, the plant employs fewer than 300 workers. The location of Trump campaign office across the street might be coincidence, but it's, of course, the GOP nominee's insistence that the glory days of King Steel and King Coal. The only candidate making that claim, Republican Senator Pat Toomey, locked in a tough re-election battle against Democrat Kate McGinty, him in the polls, has talked about bringing steel manufacturing and coal mining back to Pennsylvania. But the GOP senator whose race might determine which party controls the Senate, Donald Trump, which might be hurting him among uh, Democrats who see in Trump an answer to what is economy. Even resurgence of steel and coal or industrial manufacturing generally won't bring back the numbers of jobs those sectors once supported in Pennsylvania. That's not because of globalization, but because of dramatic gains in efficiency. Even of new industries like fracking, unlike neighboring New York, which gas drilling and hydraulic, Pennsylvania embraced it. The number of drilling rigs state from just 14 in 2007 to in February of 2012, creating hundreds of thousands of fracking and fracking-related jobs. As a result, Pennsylvania has become the #2 gas-producing state in the country after Texas. Gas prices dropped earlier this year. The rig count in Pennsylvania dropped too, taking thousands of jobs with it. But as testament to new technology, the fracking boom in the first place, gas production increased in Pennsylvania, a drop in the number of wells and a decline of fracking-related jobs. Democrats left them, so they left the Democratic Party. James aware that Pennsylvania's blue-collar Democrats are important, but to woo them. At campaign stop last week in Muhlenberg College in Allentown, Clinton's pick, Tim Kaine, a handful of state elected officials drew about 400 people, mostly students who applauded politely. It was his 7th trip to Pennsylvania. Do you guys know you're important? He asked, calling Pennsylvania a checkmate state. Pennsylvania, we win the presidency for Hillary. Senator Bob Casey Jr. put it more precisely, saying that a few numbers of counties between Allentown and Pennsylvania might win the election. Unfortunately for Clinton, those just happen to be the counties where, according to state Republican Party officials, thousands of Democrats are switching parties. On since the spring, but it isn't a primary thing. Clips, says state GOP communications director Megan Sweeney. The fact that versus Bernie was the last straw for many Democrats. A lot of people, Democrats, left them. So they left the Democratic Party. And that there's a correction in this. It says correction. An earlier version of this article stated that Johnstown is the county seat of Cambria County. That is Evansburg. There you have that. The next one that I have for you is off of the Conservative Daily Post, and it says breaking: Democratic leaders now asking Hillary to step down. It was reported on Friday the FBI has reopened its investigation into Hillary Clinton's use of a private unsecured email server while she was Secretary of State. The investigation spawned the husband of Clinton's ally Huma Abedin, or Abedin, over his home server as part of an investigation. The server from Huma and Hillary and gave the FBI access to thousands of emails they did not have prior to the access. A tweet here, it's from Martin Walsh, and it says, Hillary sure does make history. Second time she's been under criminal investigation this year as a presidential candidate. And says, excuse me. On top of that, it was reported Sunday that the FBI conducting an additional investigation into the Clinton Foundation. An FBI agent added the FBI made the determination that the investigation would go forward as a comprehensive and be coordinated so that the investigation is ongoing and Huma Abedin and activities concerning Secretary of State and the nature of possible pay to play. That's still being looked at. And now, the intensity of the situation has gotten so bad that we now have reports that top Democrats and officials are now considering asking Hillary Clinton to step down at the end of the week. Throughout the party have argued have support for a candidate that's under FBI investigation for a second time in the same year. For once, Democrats are exactly right on this argument. There are many moving parts to all of this. One thing remains absolutely certain: the FBI would not reopen an investigation for it was very serious. Another tweet from Martin Walsh says, odd that Hillary argues Donald Trump doesn't have the judgment to be president, yet she's under FBI investigation for the second time. Says, here's what we know thus far as this breaking story continues to unfold. The 28th, Director James Comey reopened his investigation into Hillary Clinton's illegal use of a private server email. Try this again. A private unsecured email server. The 30th, the FBI opened a second investigation into the Clinton Foundation. Thousands of emails, WikiLeaks, were not handed over to the FBI, so they did not have proof of the pay-to-play schemes until now. Monday, October the 31st, Democrats are quietly to ask Hillary to step down and allow Tim Kaine to take over as Democrat nominee. Developments into Hillary Clinton, her foundation, her candidacy have turned this election upside down. Millions of Americans desperately waited for the October surprise to drop would end Hillary Clinton and her campaign, and it looks like we have received it. Democrats are beginning to panic, and they know that WikiLeaks will release their most damaging documents this week. They charged top Hillary aides this week for lying under oath in previous depositions. Here you have that article. I have for you is off of the Conservative Daily Post, and it says Hillary launches last-ditch effort. U.S. now arming for war with Russia. And I'm going to need to make it a little bit bigger so I can read it. So, button here and blow it up a little bit. Okay, that's better. It says, as a gentleman, I know it's wrong to kick a man when he's down, but as a normal guy, don't blame me for laughing if he keeps shooting himself in the foot. He's down if he'll do it for you. This election has come. Hillary Clinton is down, staggering under decades of corruption being exposed on a daily basis, and even her royal guard, the MSM, is turning its back on her in unprecedented ways. Again, as a gentleman, I won't kick her when she's down, but I sure am laughing at how she keeps shooting herself in the foot. Her faults, wrongdoing, and apologizing to voters like a mature adult, she is doubling, no tripling. I've lost count. Whatever the number, Hillary is once again ranting about the Russians meddling in our elections, or as one wag puts it, Putin and Comey are rigging the election by exposing how the DNC is rigging the election. Watch out, Hillary. Yeah, Hillary's got science on her side. Oh my. There's a statement in here from Jake Sullivan on new report exposing Trump's secret line of communication to Russia. Tweets underneath that says computer science has apparently uncovered a linking the Trump organization to Russian-based bank. Says newsflash: an international businessman who has done business in Russia might have an online connection to a Russian bank. Mysterious computer scientists. Do they have an underground lab? And where is it? Do they have secret password? And how do you pronounce it? Most important, these courageous computer scientists sexually assaulted by Donald Trump on last one or 200 years. As always, this kind of liberal McCarthyism is not confined in one liberal squirrely head. Rallying cry among Democratic elders and shamans. Hillary is just a talking headpiece of the Democratic body, and the paranoid nonsense she keeps belching up indicates the Democratic body is gravely ill. And there's video in this if you want to go. And then Boston Bobblehead tweets, just how much trouble is Hillary Clinton in? Well, James Carville went full retard on BC, claiming a KGB plot. And the article says, if you couldn't tell, I have no patience for Hillary's crazy grandma Clinton's latest insane accusations against Trump just because she's losing. I'm not the only one who can see through crazy grandma's covert server anti-Russian comic book tale that even New York Times has shot her down. And in this says, it's Mike Cernovich says, Russian server story is so bad that the Daily Beast, owned by Chelsea Clinton, passed on it. Carlos Slim's blog, New York Times, debunked it. So there you have that. And the last one, or not the last one, Lord have mercy, I got a bunch of them here, but the next one I have for you is off Gateway Pundit. It says, breaking, FBI now 99% certain at least 5 foreign agencies hacked into Hillary's server. It just never ends. Lou Dobbs, investigators are now, as I said to you at the onset, 99% sure that as many as 5 foreign intelligence agencies were able to hack into the Clinton email server. And this, if you want to check out the videos, Lord, I can't make this stuff up. This is just unbelievable. I mean, it's treason. That's all there is to it. Stuff was classified. She put it out there where it could be seen by anybody that, you know, any high school kid can hack into a server, let alone spies from other countries. For crying out loud. I mean, she stood up there at the debate and told about the nuclear flight time to everybody. I mean, everybody's on national TV, for crying out loud. She couldn't keep a secret if her life depended on it. And it does. I mean, for treason, you get hung. Well, anyway, we'll go on. The next one I have is off of Real Clear Politics. Bear. FBI sources believe Clinton Foundation case moving towards likely indictment. And there's video on this one if you want to pull that one up and take a look at that at your leisure. Fox News Channel's Brett Baier reports the latest news about Clinton Foundation investigation from 2 sources inside the FBI. He reveals 5 important new pieces of information in these 2 short clips. And there's a bunch of points here. The first one is the Clinton Foundation investigation is far more expansive than anybody has reported so far and has been ongoing on for more than 1 year. And the second one is the laptops of Clinton aides Cheryl Mills and Heather Samuelson have not been destroyed. Agents are currently combing through them. Has interviewed several people twice and plans some for a 3rd time. Agents have found emails believed to have originated on Hillary Clinton's secret on Anthony Weiner's laptop. They say the emails are not duplicates and could potentially be classified in nature. Number 4, sources within the FBI have told him that an indictment is likely to pay for play at the Clinton Foundation, barring some obstruction in some way from the Justice Department. Number 5, say with 99% accuracy Hillary Clinton's server has been hacked by at least 5 foreign intelligence agencies and that information had been taken from it. Transcript. Brett Barr says, breaking news tonight. 2 separate sources with intimate knowledge of the FBI investigation into the Clinton emails and the Clinton Foundation tell Fox the following. The investigation, possible pay-for-play interaction between Secretary of State Hillary Clinton and the Foundation has been going on for more than a year. Led by the White Collar Crime Division, branch of the Criminal Investigation Division of the FBI. The Clinton Foundation investigation is a very high priority, unquote. Agents have interviewed and re-interviewed multiple people about the Foundation case, and even before the WikiLeaks dumps, agents say they have collected great deal of evidence on that. One source said, quote, a lot of it. And there is an avalanche of new information coming every day. Some of it from WikiLeaks, some from new emails, and agents are actively and aggressively pursuing this case. They will be going back to interview the same people again, some for the 3rd time. We've got something trying to pop up here. We've got to get rid of that so I can go on. All right. As a result of the limited immunity deals to top aides, including Cheryl Mills and Heather Samuelson, the Justice Department had tentatively agreed that FBI would destroy those laptops after a narrow review. Definitively, that has not happened. Those devices are currently in the FBI field office here in Washington, D.C., and are being exploited. It's out that any immunity deal is null and void, lied at any point in the investigation. The classified email investigation is being run by the National Security Division of the FBI. They are currently combing through former Democratic Congressman Anthony Weiner's laptop and have found emails that they believe came from Hillary Clinton's server that appear to be new, not duplicates. Whether they contain classified material or not is not yet known. It will likely be known soon. All of this move inside 1 week until Election Day. More details to Fox News Channel Brett Hume. Transcript. There's, as Brett Barr says, here's the deal. 2 separate sources with the FBI investigation. One, the Clinton Foundation investigation is far more expensive than anybody has reported so far. Several offices separately have been doing their own investigations. 2, the immunity deal that Cheryl Mills and Heather Samuelson, 2 top aides to Hillary Clinton, got from the Justice Department, in which it was believed they had, after narrow review for classified materials, we have been told those have not been destroyed. They are at the FBI field office here in Washington and are being exploited. The Foundation investigation is so expensive, they have interviewed and re-interviewed many people. They describe the evidence they have as a lot of it, an avalanche coming in every day, WikiLeaks and the new emails. And aggressively pursuing this case. Remember, the Foundation's case is about accusation of pay to play. They are taking this new, some of them are going back to interview people for the 3rd time, as opposed to what has been written about the Clinton Foundation investigation. The classified email investigation is being run by the National Security Division of the FBI. They are currently combing through Anthony Weiner's laptop. They're having some success finding new emails, not duplicates, that have been transported through Hillary Clinton's server. Learned that there's confidence from 3 sources that her server had been hacked, and that it was 99% accuracy that it had been hacked by at least 5 foreign intelligence agencies and that things had been taken from that. Angst about Attorney General Loretta Lynch, what she has done or not done. She obviously did not or go to a grand jury at the beginning. They also have a problem, these sources do, with what President Obama said today and back in October of 2015. Again, on this very issue, the investigation will continue. There's a lot of evidence, and barring some obstruction in some way, they believe they will continue to likely indictment. So there's that one. The next one we have is off of regated.com, and it says Donald Trump supporters raise $124,000 for burned down black church. Donald Trump supporters cover damage cost for black church burnt down by someone who spray painted "Vote Trump" on the side of the burnt down building. Raised over $100,000 to rebuild a church in Mississippi. Recently, the church was supposedly burned down by a rogue Trump supporter. The church was lit on fire and someone spray painted "Vote Trump" on the side of the building. This attack is similar to another attack in which mosque in Texas was set on fire in the name of Trump. In the church fire is unknown. The mosque was burned down by a Muslim man. The reaction to the church fire had quite the opposite effect on Trump supporters. Instead of taking it lying down and allowing it to be used as another attack on Donald Trump, they started a GoFundMe page to raise money to rebuild the church. Trump supporters have reached their goal in about 13 hours with over $120,000 in combined donations from over 3,500 people. The church itself has been around for 111 years, according to Bishop Green, who has spent the entire day on premises. The attack itself is non-essential, or not, try that again, non-essential. If a Trump supporter did this, they would be doing it while knowingly hurting his campaign. Even if this attack was from a Trump supporter, they do not represent all supporters. People have taken an active role in his campaign, from investigating and combing through WikiLeaks and FBI documents to fundraising and starting grassroots Twitter campaigns to help cut through media oppression. For political activism from the comfort of people's homes, and has been a great launching point for the Trump campaign. The next one I have for you is off of Regated, and it says Hillary's lead vanishes in the polls. Trump takes largest lead. Donald Trump has reached his largest poll lead to date, according to the USC Dornsife Los Angeles Times Daybreak poll. Daybreak poll is regarded as generally good estimate of how the state is looking. The poll tracks about 3,000 eligible voters until Election Day, asking on a regular basis about their support for Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump, or other candidates, as well as their likelihood of casting a ballot. One candidate, however, has taken a clear lead. This morning's released poll shows that Donald Trump is polling higher than he ever has been before, at 47.8% as compared to Hillary Clinton's 42.4%. The released poll has edged over the area's uncertainty, meaning that this is the justifiable proof of a clear lead in the race. To the past, the last time Donald Trump was polling this well was on September the 19th, which was around the time that Hillary Clinton's health was under a microscope. Hillary Clinton's health transformed from being a vast right-wing conspiracy to a cold, stark reality that mainstream media being forced to report on it. To her van after the 9/11 ceremony at Ground Zero, Hillary Clinton passed out and had to be carried inside the vehicle. Well, that's what the article says. From what I saw, she'd been drugged into it, but okay. The poll released today also showed a voters that were planning on voting for Hillary Clinton began to say that they won't even bother to show up at the voting booths. Downsizing, or I'm sorry, clear downswing lately in the amount of Hillary Clinton voters that plan to vote, but also an uptick in Donald Trump voters. His voters are beginning to realize that they no longer have to support him in fear. It is the platform of inclusiveness and greatness. How does this forebode for both candidates on November the 8th, less than a week away? It is tough to say at this point. It will really come down to how the general public feels next Tuesday. The best thing you can do, however, is not to get complacent and vote. So the next article is off of and it says, breaking, President Obama ready to pardon Hillary Clinton. And let me blow this up because it's got fine print here too. There we go. As we've learned from WikiLeaks, the original FBI criminal investigation against Hillary Clinton was rigged from the start. But now that's been reopened. Political observers are openly speculating pardon Clinton just before the election. It has happened before in history, as President Gerald Ford pardoned President Richard Nixon before he was ever charged with a crime. The decision was highly unpopular and damaged Ford politically. As Katie Pavlich explains in Town Hall, the most important question doesn't solely include Clinton's fate, but how she will be helped by others to avoid dragging out an FBI probe. Potential charges could be looming should she win or lose the race for the White House. President Obama has the power to pardon Clinton on the simplest prospect she could be charged with a crime or handed an indictment by the FBI. Because the FBI announced in July that they were not going to indict Clinton, there was no need for a pardon to be on the table. Which brings us to the question, will President Obama pardon Hillary Clinton before he leaves office? As my colleague Ed Morsery says it would damage Democrats for years. Ed Morrissey says November 2nd, similar to, and there's a website you can click on. There is video in this. It says, what do you think of Obama potentially pardoning Hillary Clinton for her crimes? Please leave a comment below and tell us, it says here on this article. Pursue any of that, you can pull that article up and that. The next one that I have for you is off of Mad World News, and it says, state official, Weiner emails put Hillary at center of pedophilia ring. Has done some twisted things over the years to make money and gain political power, but thanks to Anthony Weiner's emails that to reopen Hillary's case, about to learn just how depraved this woman truly is. A former state official is coming forward, attesting to the contents, and the information will and likely place her behind bars for many years to come. Pedophiles are the vilest humans walking among us. It's amazing that Anthony Weiner is free to walk the earth when the very least he should be locked away in prison for repeatedly preying upon innocent little girls. What's even more astounding is that the very same woman who is running to be our next president is just as depraved as Weiner. bombshell from former State Department official Hillary is at the center of a pedophilia ring in Washington, D.C. She was actively placing little girls into the hands of pedophiles, all while using Clinton Foundation as a cover to mask the illegal activity. Began flying several days ago as to what the contents of these 650,000 Wiener emails involving Hillary and the Clinton Foundation actually began back in July after an anonymous FBI informant began posting to the online message board frequently used by known as 4chan. The informant explains how the email server from Hillary's previous wasn't the real prize. The focus should be on Clinton Foundation, pedophile ring that involves sickos with the United States and foreign countries as well. Point of interest is the Clinton Foundation, not the email server. The server from Benghazi, then from the server, we found data on the Clinton Foundation. The situation is much worse than previously thought, the informant said. One person, okay, do tell. What about human trafficking? I assume that can be indicted. Those who can be indicated are involved. Pedophiles and sex traffickers everywhere. Many politicians trade girls like cattle, the FBI informant responds. Sex rings are popular in all governments, but pedophilia is primarily in British Parliament and Saudi Arabia. And Bill Clinton love foreign donors so much. They get paid in money, the informant responds. Dig deep and you can find it. It will sicken you. The FBI informant's bombshell allegations against Hillary were fetched at the time, but now, in the light of the FBI reopening the case against Hillary, other insiders are stepping forward to claims. Unfortunately for Hillary, the rumors are now turning into facts. In addition to several insiders within the New York Police Department validating these bombshell allegations, former U.S. Department of State official by the name of Steve Pesnick is stepping forward to corroborate these. Following video Pesnick published on Tuesday, former state official testifies that the information in Wiener's emails the Clintons in a pedophile ring in Washington, D.C. We know that both of them have been a major part and participant of what is called the Lolita Express, which is a plane owned by Jeffrey Epstein, a wealthy multimillionaire who flies down to the Bahamas and allows Bill Clinton and Hillary to engage in sex with minors, Pesnick. As a result of the excellent work police department guys in tracking pedophiliacs, they also have a record, and Bill and other people associated with Clintons. With regards, Pesnick goes on to indicate the charges that will be filed against many who are involved. Not only will she be charged with obstruction of justice, the prosecutor and the FBI shall also be charged with pedophilia. Largely successful in numerous scandals, but when it comes to exploiting the most innocent among us in the form of children being used as sex slaves for pedophiles, I doubt that there's any hope for saving Hillary's ass. The only unfortunate thing is that anything of relevance coming from Wiener's 650,000 emails won't be made public until after our next president is elected. Let's get in our White House into a horrendous constitutional disaster. And my mind just keeps going back to one of those debates where she was standing up there talking about how she cared about the children. We need to make a better world for the children. And she's going to this. There's never, ever been one shred of truth that's ever come out of that woman's mouth. She wouldn't know the truth if it bit her in the butt. That is off of thedailydose.com. And I'm waiting for the hamster to catch up to me here and get this plopped up on the screen where I can see it. Come on, little buddy, let's go. Okay, just in. Team Hillary ordered hit on email leaker. Better, don't it? Man, oh man. The mysterious murder of Democrat National Committee voter expansion data director Seth Rich has been a true predicament for a lot of us who are Clinton actually arranged his murder. Liberty says this is not an irresponsible suggestion made in the heat of an election. Served as the chief investigative counsel committee's investigation and who oversaw the more than 60,000 pages of evidence and hundreds of hours of video interviews while preparing the case. Bill Clinton, David Shippers, knows the Clintons' criminal record as well as anyone, and he openly admits terrified of Hillary. Aaron Klein asked Shippers on Talk with Radio program, are you saying, am hearing you correctly, that there are legitimate questions that you believe should be asked about surrounding the Clintons like Vince Foster and others? Shivers replied without hesitating, absolutely, absolutely. Shivers went so far as to say, we know that there were people who disappeared. When Rich was found shot in the back, his watch and wallet and money and his cell phone were still on his person. Shortly afterwards, Julian Assange offered a $20,000 reward for anyone who came forward that led to the arrest of Seth Rich's murderers. When pressured, Assange would that Rich worked with leaks, but did say, if there's someone who's potentially connected to our publication and that person has been murdered in suspicious circumstances, it doesn't necessarily mean connected, but it is that type of allegation is very serious, and it's taken very seriously by us. Concern, of course, is that other contributors to WikiLeaks would be dissuaded from continuing their work. Needed transparency. Government that has grown out of control, out of fear for their lives. Now, the latest WikiLeaks release contains an email from Clinton's campaign chief, John Podesta, that virtually proves Hillary's involvement. It's from John Podesta. It says, agree, happy to talk to the Davids, but I think if we can survive the next month, maybe even straightforward around this once there is an actual campaign. Definitely for making an example of suspected leaker, we have any real basis for it. Email confirms that Assange was correct to believe that Hillary ordered Rich's murder reason than to make an example of him for future leakers. The Clintons, just like every other, those who seek to expose the Clintons' criminal behavior do so at their own peril. Shippers' word on that. To any form of checks and balances to our political system, up to the voters to do their job and finally retire Hillary and the entire Clinton crime family. It's abundantly clear no one in government has the stand up. If we don't vote for someone else, count is sure to mount. As we close in on general election, Hillary's scandals seem to increase. Hopefully, put her behind bars. We have that article for you. This is off of shoebat.com, Awareness and Action. Muslim leaders declare in Canada Donald Trump cannot stop the Muslims. If he is elected, we will rise up and start a civil war, they say. Mirza Ahmed, a major spiritual leader for the Muslim, stated that what Muslims have wanted and what many others have been warning about, a Muslim rebellion. It doesn't really matter to them. It's just an excuse. They have already been waging soft war. They have already been waging soft war through the legal educational system. Now, as we see more terrorist attacks, Muslims are talking about doing what they always do once they have the right numbers, and that is to wage bloody war. Bridge asked Mizera Mozaror Aham, I guess it is, about Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump's plan to ban Muslims from entering the United States, which the CBC anchor acknowledged happened slightly to one extreme vetting more recently. I believe that if he wins, very big if, he will not implement what he is saying. The Madajai Kafi explained, or Caliph, not Middle Eastern, so I do a poor job at pronouncing this stuff. Mansbridge asked if perhaps Mansour Ahmad's view might be wishful thinking. The host pointed out that Donald Trump speaks for millions of Americans. The Caliph, that millions of Americans have not forced Donald Trump to behave in the manner that he has. Mansbridge acknowledged Mansour Ahmad's insight that Donald Trump's rhetoric preceded his followers and their rhetoric. Then asked about the problem that Donald Trump's supporters, now emboldened, would seem to present. Masroor Ahmad spoke of chaos and conflict within the United States if Donald Trump is elected and takes any harsh step to deny the rights of U.S. Muslims. The Caliph cited recent examples of Muslims and non-Muslims alike engaging in acts of revenge, including brutal killings and school shootings. If the Caliph went on to state current lack of U.S. gun law. If Donald Trump is elected and he actually enacts his plan for Muslim ban or extreme vetting, that there could be extreme consequences. Going to be a civil war, Ahmad stated. Civil war, Mansbridge repeated in the Caliph's words carefully. Yes, of course, Ahmad replied. They will rise against the government. Ahmadi Muslims are a sect of Shia Islam and persecuted by fellow Muslims overseas. And in the West, however, as history always shows, even heretical Muslims will unite with each other in a struggle against non-Muslims. They will ultimately return to killing each other, but not after at least attempting to destroy the infidel. Killed and raped every single day. So there's that article. If you want to read more on that, there's some links and stuff that you can click on there. The next one we have is off of the Hill, and this says Obama weighs die. We don't operate on innuendo. And there's video in this if you want to pull that up and take a look at the videos. President Obama on Wednesday appeared to criticize the way FBI Director James Comey disclosed a new review of information that possibly linked to Hillary Clinton's private email server. Public comment on the decision, Obama told Now This News interfere with the investigation, but said it's important judgment not be colored by incomplete information. I do think that there is a norm that when there are investigations, we don't operate on innuendo, Obama said in the interview published Wednesday. We don't operate on incomplete information. We don't operate on leaks. We operate on concrete decisions that are made. The president noted that Comey himself decided not to recommend criminal charges against Clinton for mishandling classified information on her private email server while Secretary of State. When this was investigated thoroughly, the last time that, she made some mistakes, but thing there that was, prosecutable, Obama said. Endured a firestorm of criticism after he sent a letter to Congress last Friday saying that was probing messages that could be linked to the investigation into Clinton's server. Made less than 2 weeks before Election Day, boosted the campaign of Republican nominee Donald Trump. Clinton and other top Democrats have slammed Comey for being vague about how exactly the messages were linked to the Clinton email investigation. The messages were reportedly discovered in an unrelated investigation from former Representative Anthony Weiner, Democrat of New York, Clinton aide Huma Abedin. Democrats have also said Comey is violating Justice Department policy against making investigative decisions that could be seen as influencing the outcome of an election. Say specifically whether he believed Comey did so. Well, I've made it very deliberate effort that I don't look like I'm meddling in what are supposed to be independent processes for making these assessments, the president said. Press Secretary Josh Earnest said Monday Obama believed Comey was not intentionally trying to tip the scales in the election. Earnest called Comey a man of integrity, a man of good character, but acknowledged that he spot when it comes to the Clinton email probe. The FBI probe has added discomfort to Obama's final week push for Clinton's presidential campaign, which includes stops in 7 cities, ground states over 5 days. But the president said he has absolute confidence in his former Secretary of State's judgment and integrity. He said, I wouldn't be supporting her if I didn't have absolute confidence in her integrity and her interest in making sure young people have a better future. Yeah. Obama also called the controversy surrounding her email server overblown. The fact of the matter is that Hillary in there, or having been in the arena for 30 years, oftentimes gets knocked around and people say crazy stuff about her, he said. And when she makes a mistake, an honest mistake, it ends up being blown up as if some crazy thing. I don't know, I'd say she got hit by the Wiener truck, but hey, it's just me. The next one we have here is off the dailycaller.com. It says election. Moody predicts Clinton. Moody's Analytics has officially presented that Democratic presidential candidate Hillary Clinton will be the next president of the United States. Election forecast, which has accurately predicted each and every U.S. election since 1980, projects a comfortable total of 332 electoral college votes for Clinton. Electoral votes for Clinton would be equal to the number President Barack Obama received in 2012 when he trounced Republican Mitt Romney by 332 electoral votes in 2006. Analytics model is essentially it doesn't take into account the popularity or unpopularity of the candidates. Instead, the model relies exclusively on analysts of a set of current economic and political conditions. In a nutshell, If that set of economic and political conditions is pretty good across the country, Moody's will predict victory for the presidential candidate representing the incumbent party. If that set of conditions is pretty bad, Moody's will predict victory for the non-incumbent party candidate. For 2016, Moody's says the economic and political number of favors Clinton. Gas prices, a number of Moody's analysts weigh heavily, are notably low nationwide, for example. Other factors that Moody's model includes prices, real personal income per household, the historic leanings of voters in each state, and voter fatigue, the penchant for American voters to kick the incumbent party out of the White House every once in a while. Also, Obama is leaving office with national approval rating is above 50% and rising. Moody's boasts model has accurately predicted the last 9 presidential elections, including the 1980 election, pitting incumbent Democrat Jimmy Carter against Republican Ronald Reagan. Of 2015, before the candidate for the 2016 election were anywhere near finalized, the same Moody's model predicted that the Democratic nominee for president will win the election margins with precisely 270 electoral votes. Naturally, Moody's has hedged its bet, its final projection, which is decidedly more favorable for Clinton. Given the nature of the 2016 election cycle to date, it is very possible that voters will react to changing economic and political conditions than they have in the past election cycles, placing some risk in the model outcome, particularly state-by-state projections. Moody's analytics economist Dan White explained, according to Reuters. Moody's forecast came out after a weekend of bad news for Clinton and the buoyed hopes for Donald Trump, her Republican opponent. Reuters notes that its own Reuters iPost States of Nation poll has projected a 95% probability that Clinton will win at least 278 electoral votes. Candidate must win a minimum of 270 electoral votes to be elected president. I wonder if that Moody's analytics account how manipulated our stats are on the economy. Because right now, all of our stats are being manipulated wildly by the central banks. What we have here is off of Christian Times, and it says, breaking, FBI raid of Clinton Foundation headquarters in September. Surprise, 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 I used to say. It says, Attorney General Loretta Lynch has come under fire for her perceived role in steering FBI Director James Comey away from recommending charges against Hillary Clinton this summer. And law enforcement officials are now alleging that the Obama-appointed Attorney General also blocked the FBI raid of Clinton Foundation headquarters in September. According to senior officials familiar with the investigation, the FBI team the FBI team tasked with evaluating Clinton Foundation had obtained the necessary warrants and were prepared to seize electronic equipment, financial records, and other information from Clinton headquarters until Attorney General Loretta Lynch stepped in and ordered them to hold off. An investigator who declined to speak on the record related to the investigation in an auxiliary position told CTN that the raid plans were inexplicably quashed in late September. Agents were not told the reasoning behind the decision, and they were only told that higher ups in the Department of Justice wanted to take another look. According to the Wall Street Journal, FBI field offices in New York, Los Angeles, D.C., and Little Rock had been collecting information on the Clinton Foundation for more than a year. The New York offices did the most work on the case, Rock. The LA office picked up information about the foundation in unrelated public corruption case, and DC was looking at charity as part of its ongoing investigation into Virginia Governor Terry McAuliffe, who is former Clinton Foundation board member. FBI officials presented their initial findings to DOJ in February, seeking approval to step up their investigation. That meeting did not go well. FBI agents continued probing the foundation using methods that did not require Justice Department approval. When the FBI had enough evidence to warrant a raid on the Clinton Foundation headquarters, the DOJ pushed back. Lower-level FBI operatives claimed that they were instructed to stand down. Now other operatives are stepping forward and saying that Loretta Lynch directly blocked the raid from going forward. That Lynch threatened to destroy anyone who didn't comply. Less than 48 hours before the raid was set to begin, agents were notified that they would not be moving on the Clinton Foundation after all. At this time, it remains unclear what information the FBI has gathered on the Clinton Foundation would have supposedly turned up. What is certain, however, is the DOJ officials, including Attorney General Lynch, have played an unprecedented role in impeding. Holy smoke. I mean, blow you away. I don't know what to tell you. Crying out loud. The corruption, the deceit, the pay to play, everything, everybody in everybody else's pockets. I'll tell you what, we're going to take this out with a giggle. This mess. Oh, mercy. I couldn't make this stuff up. But I'll tell you what I did make up. I wrote a song, and some people have heard this, and I don't think I'll mind hearing it again because they seem to have enjoyed it so much. So I'm going to try to get it brought up here on the screen if I can get the computer to cooperate with me. Play this for you. It's real short. It's just about a minute and a half. So I know the show's been a little bit long here. This is a little song that I wrote about Hillary, and I thought I'd sing it here and give you all a chuckle. Hillary, Hillary, everybody knows your name. Hillary, Hillary, you only have yourself to blame. The foundation that you pay to play, you're gonna pay come Judgment Day. Hillary, everybody knows your name. Hillary, Hillary, we hear you love to drink. Hillary, Hillary, Podesta says you stink. You smell like pee and shit and fart. You're not so smart. Hillary, Hillary, everybody knows your name. Hillary, Hillary, your truck. Hillary, Hillary, folks I know say you suck. And Don Brazil, they both say you're over the hill. Hillary, no White House for you. So I hope you enjoyed that. We'll take her out with a grin. I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye.